Hello and welcome back. This is Candace from Candoodle, and today I'm going to be making this clean and simple watercolor card using a floral digi from 3 Room Studio. So this is the Wild Rose Digi Stamp. Sandy's flowers are so pretty, and she released one every Friday throughout the summer, so I am finally getting around to coloring them all. So this is the one I'll be using for today's card. So to start off, I just put it in Word twice and then printed it out on some watercolor paper. I almost always print things out twice because I have a tendency to mess up one, and then if not, I can make 2 cards. So I'm going to take my rectangle die. This is a pink and main one that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm just going to put that where I like it to have the flower and then run that through my die cutting machine. And next up, I am going to start watercoloring. So I decided to use my Karin markers, which do not get enough use in my craft room. I will tell you what colors I used in a second, but I just want to say I'm always so surprised by how pigmented these watercolor markers are. They're seriously awesome. And I use them for calligraphy quite a bit, but I always forget to use them for like proper watercoloring on cards. So I'm not super skilled at watercolor by any means, but I do like to experiment, and these are super easy to play with and they really move well on paper. And I'm just using like Canson student grade paper, nothing fancy at all. So what I like to do is put down a clean layer of water and then come in with my lightest color and coat kind of everywhere, and then come in the nooks and crannies with my darkest color. And with these, you can always add more layers. So as you can see, I'm coming in and focusing on the nooks and crannies, doing a second layer with my darker color, and then blending it out with my second darkest, and then with clean water. So you kind of just experiment, do what you like, do what works for you. There's no necessarily rhyme or reason. If it's not perfect, I don't think the recipient is going to mind. It's the thought that counts, right? So in terms of colors, for the pink flower, I used 3 different markers. So I used blush, pale pink, and rose pink. And then for the center, you're going to see me come in a little bit with gold, just a little bit to like highlight the center. And then for the flower towards the top, I'm going to use orange. So for that one, I use pale orange and amber. And then for the leaves, which you'll see in a little bit, I'm going to use lime green and olive black. But if you don't have Karin markers, you could definitely use any coloring medium of your choice. And you can use distress inks to watercolor. You could use Tombows, colored pencils. I've even seen some members of the design team Copic color this and it looks super pretty. And that's what I like about digis. They're so versatile. You can print them on any sort of paper that you want, and you can resize them, which is my favorite part of this. Like I made this to fit a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card and take up almost the full thing. So I really like that added versatility of digis, and especially this one, like the smaller spaces might have been harder to color if it wasn't as big, at least for me. I'm not a professional here. So while I am watercoloring, I guess I will update you on my life. I have had some pretty significant changes lately, which is why I've been slightly less consistent. I used to upload a video every week, or at least try to, and I became pretty consistent after a while, but things have not been as consistent lately, so I apologize for that. But if you've seen my previous videos, especially my Eating Disorders Awareness Week one, I talked about like wanting to go into mental health and being a healthcare provider. And it's something I've always dreamed of. And I got into medical school. So I started 6 or 7 weeks ago now, and it has been a bit of a whirlwind. It's all good stuff, of course, but it's definitely been a huge adjustment period. My schedule is bananas, so it's been really hard to make time for things that are not school related, mostly being art and card making and, just being a person. So I am trying to get my sea legs under me and get a sense of, balance, at least to some extent. Of course, I know the next several years are not going to be balanced at all, but I do want to make a concerted effort to make time for my hobbies. And I did strategically keep some of my design team commitments, because I know if I have things on my to-do list, I will prioritize them versus if I hadn't done that, I likely would have let crafting, kind of fall by the wayside. And I know that's not best for me holistically as a person. Like I need to keep my hobbies to keep my sanity. So I am looking forward to hopefully finding a better balance and still making time for crafting. But just in case I don't post for a while or a few weeks, nobody panic. I am probably just somewhere with my head in textbooks or in an anatomy lab or something of those sorts learning. It can be super hard to predict what our schedule is going to be like. And, things always come up and it's a wild ride, but it's a great one and it's already been a rewarding one. So I'm super excited to see where the next several years take me and to be on this journey. So hopefully you'll stick along and let me know if you want more updates from me in videos when I'm coloring or things like that. I'd love to know what's new with you too. Tell me below in the comments. So, back to the card. I am now done watercoloring and I did let this dry a little bit before I moved on to stamping. I'm coming in with the Simple Sentiments stamp set from Three Room Studio, and I'm going to use the one that says Thinking of You, but I wanted the thinking of to be on the top and then the you below. So I'm going to come in with my handy dandy tracing paper and stamp that down to see where things are. And my thinking of is in a good spot, but I need to mask off the you. So that's what I love about using tracing paper is it makes it super easy to line up and see where you need to put that instead of doing a lot of guesswork. So once I'm happy with that, I am going to stamp it down. I stamp it a few times because this is watercolor paper and I use the coarser side, so it does have quite a bit of texture. And then instead of using the same stamp set, I would have had to move it over in my MISTI because the thinking was bumping into the side. I just grabbed another one that had U on it, and then I'm going to stamp that down to make sure it's centered. And once I was happy with that, I knew again where I could put my masking paper and it made it super quick and simple. So then I am again going to stamp that down. And again, I did do it a few times because this is watercolor paper. So once that is done, I am going to come on the back of my watercolor panel and use some adhesive. And I used quite a bit of it just because there was a little bit of warping from the watercolor, but I didn't use too much water, so it wasn't too bad. And then, of course, no card is complete without some bling. I just got some simple clear iridescent sequins in a few different sizes. And I fiddled with them for an eternity off camera, as per usual. But I edited that part out to save you that. And then I'm going to glue that down with some Lawn Fawn glue. And then that is it. That is the final card. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this gives you an idea for how to use digis with watercolor. As always, I would love to hear from you down below in the comments. I really appreciate the time that you spend here with me. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. As always, you can find me over on Instagram at Candoodle Creations, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!